It is the year 750, and the most connected city on earth is not Rome, not Chang'an, and not any capital on the Mediterranean. It is Samarkand. Here, in the fertile valley of the Zarafshan River, a city in the middle of Central Asia has become the hinge of the known world. To the east lies Tang, China, rich in silk, paper, and imperial ambition. To the west, the Abbasid world is rising fast, pulling trade, scholarship, and power toward its new centers. To the south are the wealthy kingdoms of India. To the north stretch the vast grasslands that feed horses, raiders, and roots into the steppe. And right here, at the crossroads of all of them, stands a city that should not be this powerful. Samarkand does not rule the world with giant armies or vast fleets. It rules through movement. Goods move through it. Money moves through it. News, religions, technologies, and ideas move through it. In this city, a bale of silk from China can meet silver from Persia, spices from India, glass from Syria, and a contract that promises profit a year before the caravan even returns. Everything depends on timing. Everything depends on trust. And everything depends on a place strong enough to hold the whole system together. That is what makes Samarkand extraordinary. It is not just wealthy, it is necessary. If this city falters, merchants lose fortunes, caravans lose direction, and entire chains of exchange begin to break across deserts and mountains. But at dawn, none of that uncertainty is visible yet. The gates are still opening. The air is still cool. The first animals are already stirring in their courtyards. Before the market roars to life, before the contracts are sealed, before the first bargain of the day is struck, the machine that made Samarkand the center of the world is already awake. Before sunrise, Samarkand is already negotiating with danger. In the half-light of morning, the caravanserais feels less like an inn and more like the engine room of a civilization. Thick stone walls surround a vast central courtyard where merchants, handlers, and guards are already at work. Fires burn low. Ropes are tightened. Wooden crates are stacked, checked, and stacked again. Somewhere in the gloom, metal rings clink against saddles, and camel bells answer with slow, hollow notes. The city may be rich, but out here, wealth still begins with labor. All around you, the great Bactrian camels kneel in the dust. Broad-backed and patient, their two humps rising like dark hills in the dawn. These are the true ships of the inland world. They can cross freezing passes, dry basins, and weeks of brutal wind with loads no horse could hope to manage. Rolls of silk, sacks of spice, cut glass, silver vessels, dyed cloth, paper, and letters of credit will all depend on their endurance. A single animal collapsing at the wrong stage of the journey can delay an entire chain of exchange stretching for months. And that is what hangs over this courtyard, the knowledge that one mistake can destroy everything. Too little water, and the caravan dies in the desert. Too much weight, and the pace collapses. Leave too late, and a mountain pass closes. Trust the wrong guide, and valuable cargo vanishes between one oasis and the next. Every bundle is measured, every ration is counted, every departure is a calculation against distance, weather, terrain, and human greed. Yet the scene is not chaotic. It is disciplined. Sogdian merchants issue instructions, while Turkic horsemen inspect tack and harness. Persian traders review cargo marks. Indian dealers guard their gemstones. Men speak in several languages, but the logic is shared by all of them. Nothing here moves by accident. Before Samarkand can price the world, it must first survive the road. By the time the sun clears the rooftops, Samarkand is no longer preparing for commerce. It is fully inside it. The central bazaar opens like a living artery, pulsing with movement, sound, and calculation. Long shaded avenues cut through rows of stalls beneath wooden awnings that soften the hard Central Asian light. Fired brick arches rise above the market lanes, patterned with geometric designs that suggest order, even while everything below them feels gloriously overwhelming. This is not a local market with a few foreign curiosities. It is a compressed version of the known world. You hear it before you can take it in. Sogdian merchants arguing over delivery schedules, Persian traders discussing silver purity, Arabic, Chinese, and Turkic voices crossing in quick bursts over the same stretch of street. Somewhere nearby, someone laughs. Somewhere else, someone swears at a delayed shipment. The market is loud not because it is chaotic, but because every sound belongs to exchange. Then the goods come into focus. Bolts of silk so fine they seem to catch light instead of simply reflecting it. Blue lapis from the mountains of Afghanistan. Glassware that is crossed from the western lands. Spices from India stacked in fragrant mounds. Dark pepper beside cinnamon and resin. Pearls, dyed fabrics, worked metal, carved ivory, parchment, fruit, and crafted silver all pass from hand to hand beneath the same roofs. Every stall represents distance conquered. Every object is proof that roads, rivers, passes, and contracts held together long enough to deliver it here. But Samarkand's genius is not that it possesses the world's wealth. Its genius is that it organizes it. Here, value is constantly being translated. One item is judged against another. Weight becomes price. Risk becomes markup. Distance becomes prestige. Timing becomes profit. A merchant who understands not just what a thing is, but when it arrived, how far it traveled, how scarce it will be next season, and where demand is rising, can turn information into fortune. That is why the bazaar matters. This is not just where goods are sold. This is where the world is measured, compared, and turned into power. Step away from the noise of the bazaar, and the true power of Samarkand becomes visible. Not in silk, not in silver, not even in spices. It appears in a quieter room, at a low wooden table, where a clerk bends over a smooth sheet of paper and turns trust into something that can travel farther than any camel. This is where commerce becomes system. The office is modest compared with the wealth moving through it, but what happens here may be worth more than an entire string of pack animals. A merchant does not always need to move coin across continents. He can invest in a caravan leaving this season and receive repayment in silk, silver, or other goods after the return journey next year. That promise must be written down. It must be witnessed, measured, sealed, and remembered. In a world this large, memory alone is too fragile. Paper changes everything. That is part of what makes this moment so important. Samarkand has adopted one of the most powerful technologies on earth and woven it directly into trade. Compared with clay tablets or expensive parchment, paper is light, flexible, faster to produce, and easier to store in volume. A city that can write more easily can count more easily. A city that can count more easily can trade more efficiently. And a city that can trade more efficiently can extend trust farther across distance. That is how a market becomes a network. The clerk writes with deliberate care. Names, weights, shares, dates, expected repayment, terms of risk. Nothing is vague. because vagueness is how fortunes disappear. When the writing is complete, a carved seal is pressed into colored paste and stamped onto the document. That mark is more than a signature. It is reputation made visible. It tells every future reader that a known person tied to a known household and a known guild stands behind this agreement. Break that trust, and the loss is not limited to one transaction. Your name begins to close doors across the Silk Road. This is the hidden architecture of Samarkand. The caravans carry goods, but paper carries obligation. Camels move cargo, but contracts move confidence. And in a city where distance creates constant uncertainty, trust may be the most valuable commodity of all. By noon, the power of Samarkand is no longer measured only in goods or contracts. It is measured in water. Beyond the market streets and trading rooms, the city reveals the deeper reason it can exist at this scale in such a demanding landscape. Central Asia is not naturally generous. The air can turn harsh and dry. The earth beyond the cultivated zone can look dusty, exposed, and unforgiving. A city that hopes to dominate routes across this environment cannot depend on chance. It must force survival into permanence. That is exactly what Samarkand has done. Water drawn from the river and guided through carefully managed channels turns the city into something that feels almost impossible when compared with the land around it. Courtyards hold still pools that reflect bright walls and strips of sky. Trees cast shade where the sun would otherwise be brutal. Vines soften brick. Gardens cool homes. The difference between outside and inside is not subtle. It is political. It is economic. It is proof that the city has mastered the one resource that decides whether settlements flourish or fail. And water does more than sustain bodies. It sustains status. The merchant who can welcome partners into a cool courtyard surrounded by fruit trees and running water is not only displaying comfort, he is displaying control. In a world where caravans cross dry basins and men count every skin of water on the road, an abundant household fountain is a statement of power. It says that this city does not merely endure the environment, it commands it. That command makes everything else possible. Gardens support homes. Homes support households. Households support negotiations, archives, and long absences. The calm beauty of Samarkand is not separate from its commercial strength. It is built from the same logic: planning, engineering, discipline, and the ability to turn vulnerability into advantage. In Central Asia, water is wealth made visible. And once a city learns to shape the landscape itself, it becomes capable of holding together something even more difficult than trade. It becomes capable of holding together difference. By afternoon, Samarkand reveals another kind of power, one that cannot be packed onto a camel or counted in a ledger. Walk only a short distance through the city, and you pass worlds that many empires would never allow to stand so close together. A mosque rises with the confidence of a growing new order. Nearby, a Christian church marks the presence of communities tied into older Eastern networks of belief. Elsewhere, Buddhist influence still lingers along the routes that bind Central Asia to lands farther east. And among them stands something older than all of them in this region: the fire temple of the Zoroastrians. The building is severe and deliberate, its geometry carrying a sense of permanence rather than display. Inside, the atmosphere changes at once. The noise of trade falls away. Priests in white robes move with care around the sacred flame. their mouths covered so that even breath will not defile what is pure. The fire burns steadily in its vessel, fed and protected, its light reflected against stone and metal. It is not worshipped as a simple object. It is honored as a visible sign of order, truth, and divine clarity in a world where disorder is always waiting. That moral idea reaches far beyond the temple walls. In Samarkand, religion is not separate from commerce. It helps make commerce possible. If truth stands against falsehood, then accurate weights matter. Honest contracts matter. Clean records matter. A merchant who cheats is not merely gaining unfair profit. He is helping disorder enter the system. A merchant who deals fairly strengthens the structure that allows strangers from different languages, customs, and empires to trust one another long enough to trade. That may be the city's greatest achievement. Samarkand does not erase difference, it organizes it. It creates a place where many beliefs, many peoples, and many ambitions can coexist because the exchange between them is governed by something stronger than noise or force alone. But public life tells only part of the story. Behind these walls, in the private spaces of the household, another source of stability is holding the entire network together. As evening approaches, the center of gravity shifts from the street to the home. From the outside, a wealthy house in Samarkand does not advertise itself with broad windows or an open display. The exterior walls are thick, quiet, and protective, built to resist dust, heat, and unwanted eyes. But step inside, and the house opens into a different world. Rooms face inward toward a central courtyard where shade, water, and cultivated calm create a private universe at the heart of the building. It is here, away from the market, that one of the least visible foundations of Silk Road wealth becomes clear. The men who travel these routes can be gone for months, sometimes years. They ride with caravans over mountain passes, across deserts, through foreign cities, and into systems of risk that no family can fully control. That means wealth cannot depend only on the people who move with the goods. Someone must remain behind to protect property, supervise labor, maintain household order, respond to opportunity, and ensure that absence does not become collapse. In Sogdian society, that responsibility often falls to women, and it gives them real economic power. This is not symbolic influence. It is practical authority. While husbands, brothers, or sons travel, women can manage estates, oversee servants and storage, authorize local transactions, preserve records, and protect the family's interests. They become the continuity that makes long-distance commerce possible. Without them, the household weakens, the property decays, and the wealth brought in from the road begins to leak away. A caravan may create fortune, but a household must know how to keep it alive between departures and returns. That changes how you understand Samarkand. Its power does not rest only in bazaars, contracts, or caravans. It also rests behind closed doors, in disciplined domestic spaces where wealth is stabilized, decisions are preserved, and the business of family continues while the men of trade vanish into the horizon. The caravans bring riches in, but the household makes sure they remain. And when night falls, that success appears in the most human form of all: the table, the meal, and the right to enjoy what the world has delivered. Dinner in Samarkand is not just a meal. It is a map of the world arranged within arm's reach. As the heat drains out of the evening air and lamps begin to soften the courtyard, The abstract power of trade becomes immediate, fragrant, and alive. Thick flatbreads arrive warm from the clay oven. Rice, rich with color and spice, is set beside roasted vegetables and carefully prepared dishes whose flavor depends on ingredients gathered from very different climates and roots. Fruit grown in the irrigated abundance of the region brings sweetness to the table, while fine wine poured into worked vessels reminds every guest that luxury is not an accident here. It is the final form of successful logistics. What makes the meal impressive is not excess alone. It is reach. Every item suggests a chain of movement behind it. Grain had to be grown, stored, and milled. Spices had to survive distance. Metal had to be mined, shaped, traded, and purchased. Ceramic, cloth, oil, and fruit each carry their own geography, their own labor, their own timing. What appears effortless at the table is only possible because roads held, contracts were honored, workers were coordinated, and risk was overcome again and again. That is why hospitality matters so much in a city like this. To host well is to display more than wealth. It is to display access, competence, and reliability. A guest seated in your courtyard is not simply sharing food. He is reading your status in every detail: the quality of your vessels, the coolness of the space, the confidence of the service, the steadiness of the household. In Samarkand, comfort itself becomes evidence, and yet the Silk Road moves more than objects and pleasure. After the meal, as conversation deepens and merchants begin to speak more freely, another form of exchange emerges. Stories travel with goods. Rumors travel with silver. Knowledge travels with letters, memory, and the night. And above all of it, the sky waits, carrying the one map no desert wind can erase. Later, when the conversation slows and the courtyard grows quieter, the most important instrument in a merchant's life is no longer on the table. It is overhead. Above Samarkand, the night sky stretches cold and exact, untouched by bargaining, untouched by politics, untouched by human promises. In the deep desert, roads can vanish beneath wind in a matter of hours. Tracks disappear, landmarks blur, distances deceive, but the stars remain. For the merchants of the Silk Road, the heavens are not decoration, they are survival. That is why practical astronomy matters so much here. A caravan leader must know more than direction. He must understand timing, season, and risk. He must know when the cold of night can preserve men and animals from the worst heat, when winter weather will close routes, when a crossing must be delayed, and when hesitation itself becomes dangerous. The sky helps turn uncertainty into calculation. The height of known stars, the rhythm of the seasons, and generations of remembered observation allow traders to move through landscapes that would otherwise swallow them. This knowledge is not the achievement of one culture alone. Like everything else in Samarkand, it is composite. Ideas from Greek astronomy, mathematical traditions from India, and practical route knowledge gathered across Central Asia all meet in the mind of the merchant navigator. The Silk Road is not just a road for goods, it is a road for methods. A useful calculation, a better estimate, a more accurate way of reading distance or season can be as valuable as cargo. Knowledge moves because survival demands that it does. And knowledge travels in stories too. Guests in the courtyard speak of distant capitals, new rulers, fresh taxes, dangerous roads, rich markets, changing alliances, and inventions that may alter trade in years to come. Information moves along the same arteries as silk and silver. That may be the deepest truth of Samarkand. It is not merely a marketplace. It is a processor of the world, a city where goods, beliefs, and intelligence are constantly sorted, compared, and sent onward. Yet, for all its sophistication, there is one enemy no calculation can ever fully defeat: the darkness and distance waiting beyond the city walls. When the city finally quiets, Samarkand feels less like a marketplace than a promise suspended against the dark. The river can still be heard in the distance. Somewhere nearby, camels shift in their enclosures and bells knock softly against leather. Trees stir in the courtyard air. But beyond the walls lies the true scale of the world that made this city rich. Deserts that can mislead, mountains that can close without warning, and routes where one broken promise can travel as far as one successful sail. That is why Samarkand matters. It is not simply a place where merchants pass through. It is the place where movement becomes order. Here, water is turned into permanence. Belief is turned into ethical discipline. Paper is turned into trust. Households are turned into continuity. Astronomy is turned into survival. And trade is turned into something larger than profit, a system that binds distant civilizations into one living network. In time, the caravans will fade, the empires around them will change, and the names of rulers will be forgotten by all but specialists. But the world Samarkand helped create does not disappear. The habit of connection remains. The exchange of knowledge remains. The idea that distant peoples can be tied together by goods, calculation, law, and shared need remains. That is the real legacy of the Silk Road. So if you stood here in 750, you would not just be standing in a wealthy city. You would be standing inside one of the first great engines of global civilization. And if you want to step into another city that once helped hold that world together, the next journey leads to Baghdad.